So it's here, it's official, it's Black Monday 2025. The markets overnight have crashed out in other countries. And if you don't know what a Black Monday is a reference to when the stock market went down 22% in one day back in 1987. That's what Black Monday means, right? So you wake up Monday morning and all the stocks crash out, right? So the stock market, here's the thing. The stock market is a lagging indicator, right? And I feel like that, if you're middle class or lower in America, you've basically known that the market should have crashed a while back, right? But the stock market continued to go up, right? That's why I say the stock market is a lagging indicator, because the economy has already been in a recession, most of Joe Biden's pregnancy, most of Joe Biden's presidency, right? The middle and lower class just keep getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed and squeezed, right? So, but the news and the news media are basically trying to blame all this stuff happening on the tariff uncertainty or the trade war, right? When the truth is that the market has been overvalued and over leveraged for 5 years, right? Since COVID, right? So the market in 2019, the S&P 500 was sitting at 2,500. In the peak market, I think now is over, 5,000, 5,200 maybe. Might have been higher than that. Might have gone all the way up to 6,000. I don't know. But when you see a recession or you see a bear market, like, it's going to pull back, right? So it's going to pull back to 3,600, between 3,600 and 4,000, right? Now, that being said, President Trump ran on stopping inflation, right? We've had inflation going through the roof for a while, 3% a month for as long as I can remember, right? And so what was his plan to do this? Well, number one was to decrease the price of oil and gas, right? You got crude oil going to trade this week for less than $60 a barrel, which, if you don't know, in America, if you trade it for less than $71 a barrel, then the oil companies are actually losing money on getting it out of the ground in America. You might not be losing money getting it out of the ground in other countries, but in America, you're losing money, right? And then the second thing is that the prices of things are going to go down, right? Because of tariffs, right? And you would think this would be the opposite, right? But what a tariff war does, and what people don't understand, is that it's going to increase if they do a tariff war, and so the European Union increases the price of tariffs on our goods, the Chinese already increased the price of tariffs on our goods, that means that our goods are going to sell less in their country. What does that mean? That means companies all of a sudden have an increased supply here in America, right? So you've already seen Ford drop out their prices to try to get rid of this inventory that they're not going to be able to sell because of the trade war, right? So already those are two big ones, right? The price of oil and the price of automobiles dropped out, right? And so you have, we'll just say the Ford Bronco. Ford Bronco brand new in 2022 was $40,000 as the bottom price. Now they're selling that same Ford Bronco for $26,000, right? That's a big time decrease. And honestly, it's back where it should be, right? Like a Ford Bronco standard model, should not be $40,000 as the standard price. But I digress. So what does this mean for you? What does Black Monday really mean for you, right? Well, if you hold a pension, So teachers, firefighters, all that kind of stuff, it basically means nothing for you, right? Because you give your money to the pension and the pension does what it wants with it, and there's nothing you can do about it, right? People with 401ks, you can get scared and sell out of the market, but that's probably going to cost you money in the long run, because what usually happens after a pullback is a bull market, and you end up losing money, right? In the bull market, right? So I think there's been, I think the number is either 8 or 9, but there's only one market correction where the correction wasn't back to where it was within 6 months. And that was the HIV one, I think back in the 90s, right? It took 18 months for that one to come back to where it was at, right? Like most of the other ones correct in 6 months. So this scare, for those that buy and hold, is just there to scare you, to try to get you to sell your stuff for cheap, right? So number one, don't sell it. Not financial advice, but don't sell it, right? Number two, now if you had done what I told people to do, probably in 2023, which honestly we missed a lot of run up, probably 2024 or 2023. I'm pretty sure I told my sister-in-law, Lindsay, to do this in 2024. And so she moved all of her money into bonds, municipal bonds, right, in her 401k, which they don't call it a 401k when what she's doing. But so what you're going to do now is you're going to take that money now and you're going to take it out of those bonds and you're going to throw it into the stock market, right? Now, the stock market could go down another 20%. Oh no, whatever. But that's what I would do if I'm holding cash or municipal bonds, right? I'm going to dollar cost average it back into the market, right? So every week I'm going to go in and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to put, say you got $50,000 to invest. Every week I'm going to put $1,000 for 52 weeks, 50 weeks. I have $50,000 to invest, right? Because the people that are really going to get hurt in this are the people that are rich, right? They're the ones that really get hurt in this, because they're the ones that put their money in hedge funds, and these hedge funds are crazy over leveraged, doing triple, 3 to 1, 5 to 1, trying to get more and more, more greed on their money, right? Whereas people that are regular individuals, like, you're just sitting it and forgetting it anyway, right? It's just a part of, what you do, right? Another thing is that, unemployment is going to increase, and that does suck for a lot of people. Obviously, you saw that with the federal firings or federal layoffs, but, most of them took a 6-month severance, 6 month. Most of them took a 6-month severance. So they're going to be paid through September anyway, through the pain. So the pain will be over and they'll be back in the market anyway. So, like I say, the president ran on this strategy to decrease inflation, right? The only way to decrease inflation is to put us into recession, right? And so basically that's exactly what he's done. But it's really all based on oil. Like, if oil bottoms out, then the whole world is going, oil's like a third of the market, right? So if oil goes into, a recession, so does the rest of the world, right? Now, that being said, if you're a regular investor, regular long-term investor, so I'm what's called a value investor, right? So this is basically Black Friday for me as a value investor, right? All these companies that are the cutting edge technology companies are all on sale right now, right? But I'm not going all in on one company like an idiot, right? If you got $50K to invest, I'm dollar cost averaging into those companies, right? because I don't know exactly where the bottom is. I can kind of go in there and look at previous indicators, and see where where I want to buy, right? So for instance, I think Amazon's indicator was at like 154 or 144 or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't have that written down. But it was 154 or 144, somewhere in there. So if it hits 150, I'm probably going to get some Amazon stock, right? Same thing with Nvidia. Nvidia drops below 90, I'm probably going to pick up some Nvidia stock. But I'm not going to go all in on Nvidia stock. I'm going to diversify it and spread it out. Now, I also only really like companies that give me a dividend, right? So it gives me money to hold those companies, right? So those are companies like AT&T, like, those are companies like Verizon. Those are companies like Procter & Gamble. Those are companies like Colgate. And all those companies are going to be on sale, right? Because tariffs are going to mess with those companies, right? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to dollar cost average into my list of stocks that I have determined that these are the companies that I want to be in long term, right? I say AT&T's dividend is $4.10, right? It's probably it might go down. It might be $22 or $23 by the time the dividend comes out, right? Great time to get into AT&T. Not financial advice, but a great time to get into AT&T, right? And get that 4 or 5% dividend. Automatic. Guess what? If the stock goes down 10% and you got 5% back in a dividend, did you even lose? You didn't, right? But is this Black Monday? Is it just a pullback? We don't really know. Doesn't really matter to us, right? I'm still going to be making 7% a week, 5% a week, 4% a week, while everybody else is losing, right? So I'm Nate. I'm your life coach, right? If you want to change your life, if you want to better your habits, your skill set, and your mindset, and become somebody that's unstoppable, then hit me up in the DM. Comment the word ready on this video, and hit me up in the DM on Instagram at FitfutureMD1, or send me an email at FitfutureMD@gmail.com. But all of that is linked in the description below. So if you really want help, get help, right? Let me make you elite, because it's not that hard. And, I literally taken a $1,200 stimulus check to financial freedom, right? So you can do it too. Is this Black Monday? Probably not. Probably get another 5%, 10% pullback. 5 to 8. We'll go 5 to 8 but it's not a Black Monday. I'm Nate. I'm your life coach. Make sure you pick up a cool inspirational t-shirt at Ensorsale.com and use code FitfutureMD for 20% off. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, share the video with somebody that needs it, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.